I don't know if you know that Estonia is really a small country. There are really few of us here left. About 1.3 million. I checked out, it's Helsingi with its suburbs. We call ourselves a nation. We have a government, we have a president, we have an army, we have a lot of universities, and of course we have our own identity. And embassies, we have quite a lot of them actually, is one challenge, how to present ourselves in the world. And Liisa had a big challenge to bring our piece of our culture and identity to a huge country like it is China. We a little bit know the process. It hasn't been easy for a young interior designer. So please, Liisa, who knows all the pain and glory of our profession.
Hello. Hello. My name is Liisa. Our other members of our team in design, what I'm talking, will start to talk about. Is it? I need some assistance. Yeah. Okay. Other members of our team is right now in Beijing, and I haven't seen the final result of our work yet, so it's a bit bad to talk about it, but I hope I manage. So anyway, I will just first talk about the process and how we went on designing the building. The competition was held already in 2007, and it now has taken 6 years to finish the building. And the idea for the competition was to put 3 big functions in one building, which is quite interesting as for us to plan it, but also it was quite hard to get everything fit there. And first it was workspaces for the consulate and for all the officials and for the ambassadors, and halls for the meetings and all the representative spaces there. And the third also ambassadors' workspace and some apartments also for some key officials. And the consulate needed to be with its own entrance for security reasons. So the plans were quite complicated. I have to start with a few words about Beijing if I want to describe our idea. And when I first went to Beijing, for me it was quite eclectic. Of course, it was quite a huge city compared to Tallinn, but also really eclectic. You can see huge buildings done by Western architects, and you can see lost traditions, and you can see a lot of copies of new architecture and also old architecture. And sometimes it's really small scale, like some sculpture, but if something new is being built there, it's immediately copied by Chinese. Chinese are really good at this. So this somehow makes everything new lose its clear idea. So our idea was to stay simple, even minimalistic, and maybe even boring at first sight. So nobody wants to copy this architecture. But if I look Beijing scale, it's really small. The building is really small compared to what is near. And there's some pictures of the site also in here, that there's some apartment buildings nearby, quite huge scaled, and Mozambique embassy that is quite traditional in its architecture. So there's quite a problem what to put next to everything. And the other part of the idea was that the exterior of the building and the garden with its garden elements will make a whole with the interior. And this is why the shape is 2 big columns and the glass hall going through it. So the glass hall was meant to connect the interior and inside space with the exterior. And I don't know if you have been to Beijing. If you have, you know that Beijing, the city is like an onion. It's goes in rings. The first ring is the palace, and then the second ring, and on third ring is our embassy situated, and nearby the most of the embassies are situated. And the place is really good because our neighbors are United States of America and Mozambique, and quite near are also French and Israeli embassies. So this also meant that you have to do good in design and architecture. And if I think back of how the process went on, it was quite complicated in a field of communication, because, as I said, it was a long process. It took over 6 years to finish it. And we first had to present all our ideas to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And if they had accepted the ideas, we had to present them once again to the ambassador and hope he also would like the ideas. And then we could do our drawings. Then we went and talked through with the main contractor, AMCC, which is a German-based company. And sometimes even during the process, we directly talked with Chinese employers. And it sometimes sounded like an anecdote that German and Estonian and Chinese building a house together. And it really was that a lot was lost in translation. And but somehow we managed. And we understood during our first visits that if we want to get the most of the building, we have to concentrate quite less design elements. And we thought that, okay, we will want to have sophisticated detail design, but we will concentrate on the materials chosen. And we wanted to have warm wooden surfaces, then details done in steel, sometimes aluminium. One of our base materials was concrete. We wanted to have really nicely done, beautiful concrete surfaces, and also dark granite solutions. There's a reason why we chose concrete. And for me as an interior designer, it was a challenge because I really had to understand the technology, how the concrete works. And why we chose it is first that we wanted the building to be durable in time, and the region is seismic. So this is why we could use factory-made elements only for the facade and garden elements, but mostly for the constructional walls we needed to have inside concrete. So yeah, and our problem started with the concrete. First, we wanted to have a really super smooth surfaces for the facade elements. And in Europe, we are used to have really high-tech factories that make such panels, but in there we were showed open-air factory. And it did not look like we will have anything good quality from there. But they somehow managed to do these white concrete panels quite good. And this was our first surprise, and also told us that, okay, in China, something low-tech can be quite high-tech. And but it was important because to have this super smooth glass molding surface, just because Beijing is really polluted, and we didn't want us to ruin the facade with few weeks. But also the problems did not end. If we got the panels in really good quality, then with the transportation or with the installation, it could be ruined. And this was the time when we went to Beijing and somebody had cut a hole into the panels to install them. We didn't understand why it was done. This was the time when our ambassador wrote a really angry letter to the AMCC, but still it was quite written in polite way, but it was really angry letter. And after that, they somehow managed to seal the holes, and they used a lot of sealer. But Chinese were quite keen to repair everything, and it reminded me of a bit of the work culture that we used to have in Soviet Union times. Of course, I don't remember it as I was a child, but my parents have told me that how it worked, and it's a bit like that. And they were quite happy to do everything 10 times or more. It's just that you never knew that the next time will be better. And sometimes you said that, okay, let's stop because it will not go better. And this is our ambassador trying to understand what is going on. And this is also one example of the work culture, that you see that the wall there is already finished. And then you see a crater of cement on the floor, and this was quite normal. For us, it's something that, okay, please be careful, but in there it's normal. They will repair it. And but actually, inside concrete was a bigger problem than panels. Chinese are not used to have inside concrete as a finished wall. So for them, they didn't understand anything about concrete classes, as we had written down all the specification, what kind of surface do we want. It's nothing for them. You can design a building like that in Europe, but not in China. So after a while, we understood that we had to import know-how from Estonia. So from Technical University went Aivar Salt, a professor, to taught them how to do the moldings right, and especially the connections for the moldings, so they do not fall apart in most problematic places. And but even when the moldings were removed, we were not happy with the result, because the walls were quite uneven. And why we had the problem was that we had for quite a long time convinced the officials in Ministry of Foreign Affairs that concrete is the best solution. And we had shown them 3Ds with fantastic concrete walls. And then we were thinking on the site that maybe we should cover them. But Chinese were quite helpful to repair. And with quite few technologies, I'm even not going to details, they somehow managed to make the surfaces more even than we even hoped. And I have to say that even a lot of officials that had it out in this idea were happy with the result. And then as a final result, United States of America stole our workmen to do their concrete. So yeah, it was quite nice that they managed. So here's a few pictures of how it looked after the repairing. And with the wood, as we wanted to have wood as a second solution, it's understandable for Estonians why we chose wood, as we think of us as a country that has a lot of traditions in wood architecture. And we first wanted to have thermo-treated wood for the facades and terraces. And for second solution, we wanted to have a mosaic tile parquet for the floors and walls and even door elements. And third, we wanted to use plywood for the suspended ceiling details and loose furniture also. And first, the thermo-treated wood, when we went to China to discuss this with the AMCC, the main contractor, they said us that please forget it. You will not get thermo-treated wood from China. They do not know the technology. And if you look around, you can see only plastic. And that's true. They don't use wood and they don't have experience using wood in facades. And even our clients started to doubt that maybe we will use aluminium for the facade and plastic for the terraces, but somehow we were quite keen that this idea we will stay with, and the thermotreated wood was imported from Estonia to China, and it looks really exotic there. Actually, it's basically the only wooden building or wooden details, having some wooden details, this building in this region. So it's quite nice. And this is the picture of the facade and the ribs of the thermotreated wood. And I was quite worried with the parquet solutions because we had drawn out a lot of details out concrete and wood should go together. And also the German company MCC understood that, okay, Chinese will not manage this. And they imported know-how from Germany. So German workmen came to do the parquet. And I think this was the most very free part of the project, because really German knew how to do the work and discussed all the details. So I'm really glad that we stayed with this solution. And with the plywood, we understood that now this will be the place we have to do the compromise. And we had drawn out and designed a suspended ceiling system that is from plywood elements. But in part of the money issues and also conservatism of the client will put aluminium composite panels instead. And it's the client thought that the plywood will not be straight enough, which in my eyes would have not been the problem, but for the client it was. And just to go on in a positive work climate, we put different material. This is how it looked like. For me, maybe it was too technical, but it was okay. So this is the detail of the hall, main hall, and we made one light composition inside the suspended ceiling. Now if I, as I'm interior designer, then one part of my job was to create furniture to the embassy. And loose furniture project became my master's project. And I got my inspiration from traditional Estonian architecture and furniture history. And it was deliberate because I wanted to give some small talk material to the ambassador. And because the ambassador sometimes sits down, they have some unofficial meeting with other ambassadors or whoever, and then they can discuss Estonia and what we have. And in most pieces with this loose furniture, plywood was combined with dark and quality leather solutions. So and in parts it was realized. And also we had some furniture solutions that were built in also, and it was a risk because part of the furniture was made in China, parts were made in Estonia, and it was meant to make a hole with door solutions, sometimes ceiling solutions or floor solutions. But in some places it was needed, so we took the risk. And as I understood, I had a call yesterday that in some places it's not the best quality, but you don't see from the pictures. And as one place which was interesting to design was sauna in the embassy. For most of the Chinese, I think maybe even all of them, it was the first time they built sauna. They did not understand why we need it. And but it was designed so that it can hold an unofficial meeting there also, because all the people are equal in sauna, so it's the best place to negotiate. If it's hard over the table, then in sauna it's better. And the interior was quite light. We had light wooden solutions combined with back-painted glass, and it had a huge window to the garden, not garden, but roof terraces, and you can also then go to roof terrace after you have been to sauna. So I think it was one place I hope they will use a lot. And also with one detail, we wanted to have a custom-made sauna bucket. So this was made in Estonian Arts Academy in one workshop, and one student, Alden Jõgisuu, made a design that is now used in Beijing. And yesterday late, I got some few pictures from the photographer Kaida Hagen, and I did not have time to put them in my presentation. I will just in random order show them right now. In garden we also have one water element, and we wanted to have Estonian rocks from Estonia to put there, but in money issues it's Chinese granite, so it did not happen. This is the entrance hall with the staircase. This is the ambassador's residence, and on the wall you can see carpet designed by Estonian carpet designer. I cannot say the Anu Raud, yes, Anu Raud. And this is the hall where all the ambassadors from European countries meet. And also it has 12 dinners, so dinner parties, but mostly it's for the meetings. So it's the design is not too warm. And in here you can see one part of the loose furniture project that was realized, the armchair. This is the light compositions as a detail. And in here you can see the curtains, and this design was made by Heino Brunsfeld and Krista Leesi. And the idea was to put Estonian names on the curtains. And the small talk is that in Estonia we have a lot of different names, but in China you have only few. So there really is a lot of names. Even for me it was quite surprising how many we have. So thank you. And
Any questions?
Thank you, Liisa, for the interesting presentation. I have just a short question that you won the competition, as I understood, in 2007, and the working process was quite long. Did you have some time or some needs to change also the concept? Just not because of the Chinese workers, but you yourself wanted to make some changes, or was it quite clear from the very beginning?
I think, as I told, that we had to concentrate with minimal ideas, with minimum amount of ideas. And what we did, we just lost lost some ideas. We didn't do everything we wanted. It's just that if something goes really complicated and it's built so far away, you will not be able to control the process at all. So our aim was that if something is done, it's the best quality possible we can have. But if we already saw that, okay, this will not go as we want, then we just took this idea away and did concentrate less. Yeah. But we did not change the concept. Some things, of course, as I told you about the Estonian rocks, or the legends did go away. And but I think this was this had to happen just because Estonia is not so rich country. We cannot get everything we want, and we have to make most of the money we have.
Thank you, Liisa, for this wonderful presentation. Especially it's so new, this building, and sharing us with us especially this process. And the question is, during these 6 years, how many times you had to go to China?
I think I went altogether 5 times. Of course, for Andres Põime, the architect, I think it's now his 11th or 12th time in China right now. And if I think back of the process, and always everybody asked that, oh, it's so fantastic, you can travel. And they did not understand that mostly it was from hotel straight to the site and long work days there and then back to the hotel. You try to get some sleep and then in the morning it starts all over again, and after a week you just come back to Tallinn. It's like going to Tartu or something. You don't understand, you don't see Beijing so much, but of course at the first 2 visits we managed to see some sightseeing also.
Okay, thank you, Liisa, and we wish you a lot of success in your particular aim. Thank you.
Thank you.